Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my Wednesday night Intel update. Now, tonight, I'm going to be explaining some operations that are completely dismantling what is known as the European Union and the globalist networks. This is part of phase 4. I'm going to be sharing a lot of information today to the point where even the British House of Lords is admitting that 80 years of imperial rule in Europe has now come to an end. Recent leaked intel has revealed that this is the final card that is being played out by Trump and Putin, explaining these meetings that have been going on. Not to mention, Zelensky was actually taken out and replaced by the White Hats. And this explains why they're going to be achieving some sort of a ceasefire. I'm also going to be talking about a countdown that was signed as of today, where President Trump did initiate about 150 trillion financial operations designed to dismantle the global elite's economic control and returning not only America's wealth back to its rightful owners, the people, but extending this to the entire planet. We're also going to go over how over 800 National Guard troops are officially deployed, and they have been for the last week and a half under Directive 27B, which is an unclassified segment of a much larger operation known as Iron Reclamation. Okay, this is not about ending the criminal networks in America, but this is about actually ending the swamp and draining the deep state in America. And I'm also going to go over the true meaning of the Rose Garden that's being built right now in the White House, as far as they are converting it into a fortified operation zone, where they're going to be, again, releasing a lot of information. Not to mention, according to Kash Patel, guys, I know I'm starting with the bang. There was no proof regarding the Mar-a-Lago raid that took place a few years back. If you guys recall, they had no proof. And so all the evidence is there, giving them even more reasons to drain the swamp and bring down the deep state. So I'm going to give a geopolitical report. And of course, I'm also going to be giving a national report on what's happening right now. But before I get into today's intel, guys, I do want to remind you guys that there is this amazing holistic product called Folium that was designed to eliminate all the nanoparticulates, all the metals, all the smart dust, all of that stuff, radiation from the negative frequencies that are bombarding us, cleans out the mitochondria. So in other words, it allows the healing process of the body to take place. And I see that Starcadian is posting the link in the chat. And for those that watch this on the replay, of course, I always put the link in the description. As a reminder, guys, I'm also going to be presenting at the Alien event coming up in September. I believe it's the 12th to the 14th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. However, my presentation is on a Sunday. I will also put the link, or just go to the alienevent.com, secure your spot, but make sure that you put my name when you purchase your ticket, that you add my name to your purchase, so that they know that you're actually going to see me. Anything else? And I think that's it. I think I could get right into it. So I hope you guys are all having a fantastic, beautiful Wednesday evening, or is it Thursday morning, depending on when you see this. And other than that, I do want to thank each and every single one of you guys for being here. And also for those that watch this on the replay, because without you guys, I wouldn't have an audience. Okay, so new leaked information just came in regarding what is known as Phase 4 in the takedown of the globalist Illuminati infrastructure. So we could say that the deep state is apparently now on the verge of collapse, okay? There was a recent report where, again, the British House of Lords is admitting that their 80-year imperial rule is now coming to an end. And this explains all these meetings that are taking place between Trump and the European leaders. Pretty much the alliance is stating their checkmate on the deep state worldwide, okay? So in a final and unexpected move, Trump and Putin, as they are working together, okay, have triggered Phase 4, or have triggered another important piece in Phase 4, which is a joint operation to not only end the European conflict, bringing peace to Europe, of course, but to dismantle the globalist machine from the inside out. Okay, so according to White Hat Intel, secret missions have been going on from behind the scenes. that are designed to expose the elites and, of course, to collapse what is known as the European Union. All right. And they're all converging in a moment of reckoning as this trilateral meeting takes place, which, again, according to Intel, will be bringing the end to the war in Europe in favor of course, Russia, of course. Now, before I get into what they call the last gambit, okay, I do want to make it clear, guys, that the European Union, which evolved out of the United Nations Charter that was established in 1945 upon ending of the Second World War, was no other than an orchestrated, you could say, plan that was designed to eventually resurrect the Holy Roman Empire, as revealed in my book, The Secret Government. Okay, so all of these globalist organizations, from NATO, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, were all the beginning stages of what they called a global government, okay, NWO. So phase 4, leaked intel from underground circles did speak of a classified military campaign known as Operation Black Phoenix. The resurrection of global sovereignty from the ashes of the deep state is underway, according to this operation, because at the center of this operation, we do have, of course, Mr. Trump and Vladimir Putin, which are the most important figures that, of course, the media portrayed as adversaries, especially within the last few weeks. A lot of people felt for that bait, right, that they were going to war with one another. That wasn't the case, but have been operating united under a united front since 2016. Okay, again, Putin is also part of the alliance. So they wanted to make it clear that this isn't just about politics anymore, guys. This is about survival, freedom, economic, national sovereignty, right? Not just for Russia, but for all the independent countries in Europe, right, that want to free themselves from the bondage of this, what we call the third Babylon, the European Union. So the 4 phases of this liberation apparently did become initiated in 2017. Okay, so the Covert Alliance, known as the Earth Alliance, has been conducting a step-by-step takedown, as you guys know, of the deep state, not just here in America, but but worldwide, because it is an international operation. All right, so this thing that is now leading to what they called checkmate started off with what they called phase 1, and I think I might have revealed this before, but if not, then I'll reveal it for the first time under Operation Silent Storm. Okay, this is where covert arrest of high-level financiers and intelligence operatives took place, establishing secure military communication grids. And then after that success, it came phase 2, which was known as Operation Veilbreaker, which was the global awakening campaigns via controlled leaks and soft disclosure. And then, of course, the exposure of media manipulation and deep institutional corruption. And then phase 4, which is Operation Mirrorfall, phase 3, which is Operation Mirrorfall, sabotaging of the deep state's countermeasures in biotech, finance, and of course AI, thanks to organic intelligence known as Prometheus. And more importantly, the collapsing of puppet regimes in key nations, per se Zelensky. Okay, phase 4 is the Operation Final Card, and this is what we've actually entered within the last month and a half, as revealed in my show. So a big part of this operation is, of course, dismantling what is known as the globalist infrastructure. Okay, so part of phase 4, Operation Final Card, is now active, right? Ever since last week, ever since that meeting took place in Alaska, where a strategic unmasking of globalist leaders is now underway, where a financial reset, right? Yes, and BRICS, by the way, BRICS is part of the GESARA financial system, by the way. And that's going to, of course, end all the manufactured wars that were, of course, maneuvered by the House of Rothschilds. And ultimately, guys, this is going to be dismantling the European Union from within. Okay, so according to the latest intel, the EU is now falling from the inside. And of course, the mainstream media is never going to be reporting on this. Okay, Europe has been the stronghold of the globalist deep state for decades. Hello, right? Through the IMF, the WEF, and of course the European Union itself, which is a cover-up designed to bring about a global union, NWO. But now the Operation Europe Divide, which was initiated by the Earth Alliance, has been activated, which is an economic and intelligence warfare campaign led by the Earth Alliance cells inside Hungary, right? Poland, Austria, and Italy. Okay, so these are the first countries that are already in position to, you could say, to leave the European Union. Okay, these nations that have long resisting globalist mandates, and they have, of course, they were infiltrated by the globalists, are now openly denying and defying Brussels. Okay, for instance, Hungary's intelligence service that was aided by an ex-MI6 White Hat operative has leaked documents tying European commissioners to offshore bioweapons, you know, underground, whatever you want to call them, labs. Okay. Also, Italian military factions have refused NATO's latest troop deployments, triggering internal fractures within the alliance. And then also the euro is destabilizing, right, which was going to lead to the world dollar, right, under the central banking systems. Well, BRICS is about to topple that, along with the new XRP-backed currency, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. From, of course, the euro is destabilizing, not from external attacks, but from the exposure of deep financial fraud orchestrated under Operation Ledger Light. So, from behind the scenes, Putin has offered private peace agreements to key European nations, bypassing NATO entirely. Trump, still operating through covert channels, is pushing for what is known as Operation Sovereign Shield, which is the dismantling of the European Union, bringing back national sovereignty to all the European countries, which is a framework for new sovereign alliances outside of the EU-UN power structure. Okay, so why is this happening now as part of phase 4? Well, a lot of this has to do, guys, because, of course, of these planetary and cosmic alignments that are taking place, as to why 3i Atlas is here, right, as a data recorder. And, of course, according to ancient prophecies and celestial data, have all indicated that the Earth has entered what is known as zero-point energy cycle, which is a moment where truth frequencies overpowers deception, allowing hidden realities to surface. So Trump's return wasn't just a political maneuver. It's an energetic one that is aligned with these cycles. Okay, and so also Putin's actions aren't just military. Okay, they are symbolic. Okay, there was a reason why he had to go to war with Ukraine. Okay, now together they do represent what is known as the dual force that is needed to collapse the globalist matrix and initiate a sovereign human era. So part of the final card operation includes a joint broadcast leak of classified satellite data. We've been calling it the EBS, providing election corruption, mind control frequencies, and of course, interdimensional experiments being broadcast on a worldwide scale. Okay. This, of course, will also be the activation of Echelon Purge, which is a program to sever deep state AI control grids that are embedded in European Union tech infrastructure. And of course, part of this Operation Final Card is the public trials of major globalist leaders under a new planetary tribunal. We all know that for the last 5-6 years, these military tribunals, these arrests of the originals have been going on covertly. But now, my friends, it seems like they're going to be conducting what is known as a planetary tribunal, which is what we have all been waiting for. So apparently, the deep state globally, not just in the States, everywhere on the planet, has no more time. Okay, the last chess move is being played right now, and it's happening. Okay, guys, in real time. We could say that we are now living in the final chapter of a hidden war that has spun centuries. Again, for those that have read The secret government, invisible architects, I actually traced this war going back to after the flood, okay? And with phase 4 underway, the veil is lifting and the world is beginning to see the architects of their suffering. So, but it's also a moment of great hope for humanity, right? The alliance is very excited and the plan is indeed active in its final phase, and the final card is about to be played. Now, one of the things that they wanted me to share with you guys today is that the Earth Alliance, how the Earth Alliance took out Zelensky, right, and replaced him with a different one. By now, you should have all known that every political figure, every powerful individual on this planet has at least a double or two. Okay, so Zelensky 2.0. I heard that the original was actually taken out to be used by the cabal. Was also taken out. So 1.0 Zelensky was replaced by 2.0 evil Zelensky, right? And now 2.0 Zelensky has been placed by what the alliance calls 3.0, okay, which means he's going to be playing ball now. All right. So from, behind the mainstream headlines, guys, and media diversions, there's a seismic shift that is quietly taking place in Eastern Europe. And no one's going to be covering this, of course, because behind closed doors and, of course, and blacked out intelligence briefings, the Earth Alliance, which is a global coalition of military insiders, whistleblowers, and sovereign leaders, including Putin and Trump, are executing one of the most decisive and covert operation in human history. Okay, I get so excited. I mispronounce words. But the removal and replacement, of course, the Ukraine president, Vladimir Zelensky. Okay, this operation, known internally as Operation Iron Veil, marked a critical milestone in the Earth Alliance multi-phase strategy to eventually dismantle the deep state apparatus embedded within Europe, and more specifically within Ukraine. Long considered a stronghold for globalist proxy wars, biolabs, and financial laundering. Okay, so according to this report, the original Zelensky went from comedian to puppet and chief, and I think I've already mentioned that the original one was taken out by the deep state and then was replaced by 2.0, who is the evil one, right? And that was the one that was just recently taken out by the alliance, giving way to Zelensky 3.0. But as you guys all know, his rise from television, he used to be an actor, entertainment to wartime president, of course, was no accident. Okay, a little brief understanding of Zelensky 1.0. Well, Zelensky 2.0 was the one that was selected and positioned by the globalist handlers to become the perfect PR weapon, okay, in Europe, working, of course, carrying out the duties of NATO, the WEF, and the interest under the banner of what? Defending democracy, okay? And this is why even Trump stated that this is Brandon's war, okay? Trump did mention that in his meeting with Zelensky a few days ago, that he's actually trying to fix Brandon's war. He called it Brandon's war, right? Go Brandon. Well, we all know that the laptop of hell, right? Hunter Brandon, we all know that there is a connection between that and, of course, you could say, blasphemous and nefarious experiments that were actually developed underneath Ukraine for many, many years. So we could say that that beneath the surface, insiders have always known, and of course you guys have, that Zelensky's regime became one of the most tightly controlled nodes of deep state operations, facilitating everything from illegal arms transfers to covert human transferring pipelines, masked under refugee programs. And this is why Zelensky was ordered by Trump to free the children. Okay, thousands of children were taken from Russia. So by the year 2024, the cracks began to show, right? The military advisors and the Earth Alliance flagged inconsistencies in Zelensky's movements, increasing security paranoia, and his growing entrenchments from his own generals. And it was clear by then that he knew that his time was running out. Okay, so Operation Iron Veil is the extraction of what we would call the evil 2.0 version and replacement of 3.0 Zelensky. Okay, so in back in March 2025, under the cover of a diplomatic blackout and media silence, Operation Iron Veil was actually initiated, but it didn't take effect until now. Okay, so this operation was already in the plans a few months back, and superheaded by factions within the U.S. Space Force, Russian Spetsnaz, loyal to the Earth Alliance. By the way, even the Russian space organization is part of Space Force. For those that didn't know, they're working together with as the Earth Alliance, and also rogue elements in Ukrainian intelligence that were actually placed there by the alliance to infiltrate the Ukrainian government so that they could execute Project Iron Veil in success. And the mission goal was, of course, threefold. Okay, this is what it was: to extract Zelensky alive for interrogation and off-world detainment. And so they took him off-world to install a controlled double or a clone to preserve geopolitical optics during transition, which is what gave us Zelensky 3.0, and then to begin unraveling the deep state's ties between NATO, Western oligarchs, and the Ukrainian black sites. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. Okay, so satellite data and insider sources did indicate that Zelensky was actually intercepted recently in an underground compound near Lviv, and this actually happened a couple weeks ago, explaining why this time around he actually wore a suit, whereas the first time around, Zelensky 2.0 back in March, if you guys recall, or is in April, went to go meet Trump just wearing a T-shirt, and this was around the time where Trump was telling him, "We hold the cards." You know, it didn't go very well for Zelensky 2.0, right? But this time, I don't know if you guys noticed, Zelensky was actually wearing a black suit. So that's Zelensky 3.0, okay, for you guys. There's a difference. So the operation, of course, lasted only about 9 minutes with 0 casualties. I'm talking about the operation of replacing Zelensky 2.0 with Zelensky 3.0, okay? He was immediately transported to a classified holding facility believed to be under Earth Alliance jurisdiction in Antarctica, and then later, of course, was transferred over to an orbital platform, okay? Again, Space Force has interplanetary stations that were inherited through Solar Warden. So the replacement was, in his place, a genetically engineered surrogate, indistinguishable to the public, was deployed. But this replacement is not acting on deep state's orders. Okay, he is actually operating under the directive of Operation Mirror Shift, which is a psychological operation designed to slowly expose the truth to the Ukrainian people and shift the country away from the globalist influence without igniting civil war. And subtle changes have already been noted, all right? The new Zelensky has ceased aggressive calls for NATO escalation. Peace overtures to Russia have quietly resumed behind closed doors. And anti-corruption measures have been announced, targeting former Western NGOs. So the surrogate, Zelensky 3.0, according to alliance sources, is temporary, a transitional placeholder while Ukraine prepares for a full sovereignty reset. And despite the magnitude of this shift, the global media has remained eerily silent, you could say, eerily silent, okay? Controlled by the very networks now under threat. Mainstream outlets have either ignored the anomalies or explained them away as fatigue or stress-related changes in Zelensky's behavior. So, but to those watching closely, of course, the signs are unmistakable. Body language experts, facial recognition software analysts, and deep insiders have noticed inconsistencies, from mismatch earlobe geometry to shift in speech cadence and protocol behavior. So the removal of Zelensky 2.0 is not just about one man, guys. It's about breaking the linchpin of the entire globalist deep state European machine, okay? Ukraine actually served as a testing ground for narrative control, proxy warfare, and financial funneling on a massive scale. And so, with Zelensky being neutralized, the Earth Alliance has created a ripple effect that weakens the European Union, NATO, and every institution built on globalist agendas. So the stage is now set for what the alliance sources call Operation Europe Phoenix, okay, which is the rebirth of sovereign European nations free from centralized manipulation. So now that Zelensky 2.0 is gone, we are going to be witnessing a huge change in Eastern Europe. And the Earth Alliance, who is now committed to minimizing the chaos, has opted for a silent transition. Okay, disclosure is coming, guys. The people of Ukraine and the world will soon learn the truth. And when that time comes, the name Zelensky will no longer stand as a symbol of resistance, but as a reminder of how even the most powerful puppets fall. Okay. And again, a lot of this is happening now because of these cosmic alignments, okay? Because of the times that we're living in. According to ancient prophecies and celestial data, indicate that the Earth has entered what is known as a zero-point energy cycle, which is a moment where truth frequencies and power deception truth frequencies overpower deception, allowing hidden realities to always surface, okay? It's an energetic shift. And Trump and Putin are just instruments of this energetic shift. Okay, it's very symbolic in a way. But together, my friends, they do represent the dual force that is needed to collapse the globalist infrastructure and initiate a sovereign human era, which is what they call the last gambit, the final card. All right, really quick. Operation Final Card includes a joint broadcast leak of classified satellite, which is what we called an international emergency broadcast, right? Data providing election, corruption all throughout. You could say not only the histories of the states, but the histories of other countries as well. Mind control frequencies that were used on the people, and of course, interdimensional experiments that were being conducted in the deep underground bases. In addition to the final card gambit, they're also planning on the activation of what is known as Echelon Purge, which is a program that is going to sever deep state AI control grids embedded in EU tech infrastructure. And then most importantly, guys, public trials of major globalist leaders under a new planetary tribunal. So we are now living in the final chapter of a hidden war that has spun not only centuries, I would say millennium, right, as revealed in The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. And so with phase 4 underway, and it has been for over a month now, the veil is lifting every day even more so, and the world is beginning to see the architects of their suffering, okay? But it's also a moment of hope and a moment of planetary jubilee when all of this is revealed to the world at large. And in either case, my friends, the alliance is very, very real. The plan is very active, and the final card has been played. Okay, the final card has been played. Now, also, in addition to all of this, on a national level, according to a financial intelligence insider by the name of Jim Rickards, Donald J. Trump is also preparing to unlock what may be the largest hidden trust in human history. Okay, as of August 20th, which I believe was today. Oh, and by the way, today is August 20th, 2025. And yes, my friends, we are still on a positive timeline trajectory. So on August 20th, 2025, it is believed that Trump is going to initiate what is known as 150 trillion financial operations, 150 trillion financial operation designed to dismantle the global elite's economic control and return America's stolen wealth back to the people. So it is believed that a strategic reversal that was aimed at unlocking mineral assets buried beneath federal land for decades is now being unearthed. Okay, so these resources, which have a worth of over 150 trillion, were actually kept by the globalists and the deep state regulations designed to keep the population poor and dependent. Okay, well, for years, you could say that institutions like the UN and the WEF and the World Bank used fake environmental policies to actually block access to what rightfully belongs to the American people. And that, my friends, ended today. Okay, 150 trillion in untapped natural resources buried within the US soil, hidden for 161 years, according to this report. Okay, and we're not just talking about fiat money, we're talking about real wealth like copper, lithium, rare earth minerals, and energy dominance that's going to allow us to dominate in energy. Okay, and now, after a quiet but monumental legal decision by the Supreme Court, as of today, the last barriers have been removed. Okay, so over a century and a half, a colossal natural resource trust has been quietly buried beneath the surface of the US economy, both literal and legally. Copper, lithium, uranium, rare earth minerals, oil, gold, and clean energy assets valued at over 150 trillion. And this trust represents enough wealth to erase the national debt and foreign energy dependence, which means that we will no longer be buying from China anymore, right? Bringing the economy back to us. It's also going to help rebuild US infrastructure, restore monetary sovereignty. And so why hasn't it been tapped? Again, because the globalists were hiding this for many, many years under their control. And of course, because until now, the federal agencies that were protected by the Chevron Doctrine stood as the gatekeepers. And this is the reason why, for 161 years, the Rockefellers did not allow anyone to have access to these minerals. Okay, so we could say since 1984, the Chevron Doctrine allowed unelected bureaucrats to interpret federal laws however they pleased. And it gave agencies total power over resource access, land use, and economic control. It was the perfect legal firewall to keep America's wealth locked and hidden from the public hands, while the globalists extracted the value for themselves through trade deals, outsourcing, and engineered debt. So as of today, the Supreme Court has just overturned the Chevron Doctrine. Okay, so this happened today, August 20th, 2025. And what does that mean? Well, it means that the legal lock has been broken, that the alliance or any executive leader can now challenge federal overreach and unlock the vault. And this isn't a court case, my friends. This is a trigger for the greatest energy and resource shifts in history. Okay. Trump didn't just speak about draining the swamp. He always pointed towards economic liberation through sovereignty. And so now with the Chevron Doctrine gone and a massive natural trust at stake, Trump is in position to rebuild America from within, redirect the monetary system toward tangible value, right? Bringing us back to the US Treasury, crushing dependency on China and foreign suppliers, trigger a wealth transfer through commodities and digital infrastructures such as XRP and XLM. And Trump is actually getting ready to launch an entirely new economic operating system, as you guys know, that's going to replace the fiat system. And so all of these scenarios are being built in silence. The smartest money is already on the move, which is XRP, right? A global liquidity, not globalist, a global liquidity token built for what's coming into commodities of precious metals, gold, silver, and uranium, right? And that explains why XRP is about to skyrocket into domestic energy and rare earths, of course, the core of the 150 trillion trust. And this is not just crypto hype, guys. This is the reconfiguration of economic dominance with America's buried trust as the new foundation. So, of course, you're not going to be hearing this on the news, okay? Economists won't be talking about this. And the politicians are not going to say anything either, because this isn't meant for the public. It's all a strategic plan, okay, that is being developed to bring down the old economic system. So the media, of course, tries to distract with culture wars, court battles, and scandal theater, while under the radar, the stage is being built for the alliance victory and the activation of this 161-year-old trust that could actually bankrupt globalist overnight. Okay. And so this is the beginning of NESARA GESARA, the GCR, the reset that we've been waiting for. Of course, for decades, the term NESARA, which stands for the National Economic Security and Recovery Act, and GESARA, which is the global version of it, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, have been ridiculed, right? A lot of people have lost hope in that. It's been censored many, many years. It's been buried beneath layers of misinformation, by the way. And so the establishment mocked them as what? Fantasy. But the architecture that they represent has been quietly taking shape, guys. And this is all also tying in with BRICS, right? BRICS, the new Eastern Economic Bloc. So Trump's move to unlock a $150 trillion trust buried beneath U.S. soil for 161 years aligns perfectly with everything that NESARA GESARA has always implied, which is what? Debt erasure, forgiveness, right? They erase debt, all debt, that is, sovereignty restoration, and global economic resurrection. And it is strategic. It is a strategic convergence that will allow a trust powerful enough to erase all national debt. Legal barriers are going to be removed through the fall of the Chevron doctrine and a shift from fiat fraud to resource-backed value, the rise of XRP, XLM, gold, silver, uranium, you name it. Elite financial systems are collapsing while digital infrastructure rises. And then Trump is returning as what? Executor, not just politician. So this is the beginning of wealth restoration through the constitutional means, not just for America, but with what's happening right now with Europe, it seems like it's also going to be happening for the entire world. All right. So we could say that beginning September 1st, which is just 11 days away, right? Trump's National Endowment Directive activates what is known as Phase 1, which is going to be releasing internal mineral surveys to vetted American development teams, bypassing corrupt corporate monopolies. Also, on September 1st, Trump's National Endowment Directive is the green lighting land leases under strict national interest protections, bearing foreign ownership and globalist interference. Also, routing mining revenue through the Unified Treasury Reclamation Fund, built on GESARA-aligned legal structures, and issuing payments to verified U.S. citizens only for the QFS verification, okay? So apparently now, as of August 20th, the WEF leaders met in secret in Geneva last weekend, and over 300 private jets launched, landing in a 36-hour window. And their agenda was what? To stop the mineral release, okay? But to no avail, thank God. The IMF also issued an emergency bulletin warning of catastrophic instability if the U.S. activates full mineral and asset backing of its currency, okay? And of course, China is dumping U.S. bonds, not out of strength, but out of desperation. Their central bank is crumbling to be replaced soon by the central bank is scrambling to replace the soon-to-be irrelevant dollar with the new currency, right? That's going to be backed by precious metals. And so, for the first time in decades, my friends, they're about to receive, we could say, the actual wealth, right? And so, actual compensation for what was stolen from the people, real world gold anchored payouts that are linked to real world assets and not debt. And this is the start of the greatest wealth transfer in human history. Okay, this is real stuff. And again, a lot of this also interlaces and ties in to the 100 National Guard troops that were, again, deployed not only in DC, but all throughout the major cities across the states. And eventually, they're going to also extend this operation over to Europe as we begin to see the dismantling of the globalist infrastructures. So, the orders, as confirmed by internal Pentagon briefings, as part of Directive 27B, an unclassified segment of a much larger operation known as internal to the insiders, Iron Reclamation, Operation Iron Reclamation. Okay. So, what is Operation Iron Reclamation? Well, this operation, greenlit under the expanded powers given to the executive by continuity of government protocols in effect since Brandon's stage departure in 2025. Okay. January of 2025, has now entered what is known as Phase 2, which is armed containment. And what's actually declining is the shield that protected the cabal under this act. And Trump has now finally and rightfully pulled the trigger to bring force into the most corrupted square mileage in the nation. So the National Mall isn't being guarded, it's being scrubbed. And that's why liberal governors, Soros, funded NGOs, and certain international embassies are panicking. And so this goes far beyond gang activity, my friends, or localized violence. Okay. According to sources within the Trump aligned Quantum Task Force, according to sources within the Trump aligned Quantum Task Force, the National Guard is tasked with isolating 5 target zones within DC. And this includes foreign backed intelligent hubs posing as nonprofits near DuPont Circle. It also includes underground network access points beneath Judiciary Square, including old Masonic tunnels used for covert transport and secure communications. Also includes a hidden server facility operating inside a shuttered government archive near the Capitol South Metro Station, believed to be one of the last nodes of the compromised Dominion election ringing infrastructure. And it also includes a trafficking route exposed under the Reagan building, under President Reagan's building, allegedly used to funnel elite-controlled individuals in and out of foreign embassies without TSA or federal oversight. And finally, but not least, a covert biotech research wing operating in the basement levels of George Washington University Hospital that is linked to DARPA's failed neural mesh experiments and DNA tracking programs initiated under the Obama era grants, okay, DIH grants. And this is why the deep states, puppets, and local government are losing in DC, right? Mayor Muriel Bowser has no power anymore, guys. Trump removed her jurisdiction on August 12th. And so the police department is now under federal command. And the Federalists didn't take that power just to direct traffic, okay? And this explains why governors aren't just helping. They're actually mobilizing the alliance. We're talking about Republican governors. For instance, the governors of West Virginia, South Carolina, and even Idaho didn't just send troops for support. They've actually joined what insiders call the Sovereign States Coalition, which is a post-2020 alliance of governors prepared for continuity of constitutional order after the stolen what? 2020 ELECTION, okay? Which was exposed in full at the January 2025 tribunals, okay? Well, West Virginia's Patrick Morrisey also sent about 400 troops with classified clearance and specialized urban warfare training, the same units that assisted in the seizure of Jeffries Island remaining tunnels in February 2025. South Carolina's Henry McMaster sent 200 Guard members, many of whom were involved in Operation Seawall, a coastal trafficking route takedown near Charleston. These troops aren't just peacemakers, they're black hat hunters. In other words, they're hunting the black hats, okay? The swamp. And this isn't no coincidence, guys. Just last week alone, okay, a private jet linked to a known Bilderberg attendee was forced to land under U.S. military escort at Andrews Air Force Base. At Andrews Air Force Base, okay, just minutes outside the DC perimeter. And what was on that jet? Diplomatic bags, supposedly, but eyewitnesses saw two hooded individuals escorted off the plane in shackles. Zero mainstream coverage. Huh, go figure. Well, the quick reaction force, right, is not for crime, it's for what's coming. The Pentagon's so-called quick reaction force is not just a pilot project, by the way. It is the groundwork for civil stabilization ahead of the EBS, Emergency Broadcast System activation, expected to go live in the coming 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, again, this is a international operation. So this is coinciding with Operation Europe Freedom, right, which I mentioned earlier. Every move in DC right now is built around securing the command and control infrastructure for the 10 days of darkness that is coming, when all the mainstream media will be override, right? The QFS will go online for the public use, and classified indictments will be unsealed live. And then finally, but not least, guys, I do want to talk about the Rose Garden, okay, which is being designed as a stage for the awakening. So, according to insiders, Trump didn't just redesign the Rose Garden for decoration. He converted it into a fortified operation zone, which is the globalist media, which is something that the globalist media doesn't want to talk about, okay? Because of the flag-shaped drainage systems, the presidential seals in all four corners, right? Or because of what? The strategic Mar-a-Lago aesthetic. Well, let's just be real, okay? It was about symbolism and preparation, right? And this is the reason why this thing is being designed. It's not just about, you could say, having a place to conduct meetings or speeches, right? That's the cover story. The truth is this, that garden is no longer just a ceremonial space. It's actually being repurposed, right? It's being repurposed for the great reveal, okay? The Rose Garden isn't just being used to throw brunches also. It's being prepped for a live military tribunal, emergency broadcast, and the final wave of classified disclosures. The kind that will tear down the entire illusion, right? And of course, this is an illusion that the elites have built for over a century. So we're talking about this, guys. We're talking about the disclosure of election interference, right, from 2020 to 2024, traced back to foreign intelligence hubs in Ukraine, Taiwan, and Frankfurt. Also, proof of Jeffrey's intelligence network, right, linked not only to the three-letter agency that starts with the C and the Israeli Mossad, but also the Vatican and the World Economic Forum, right? And also Project Vireo, V-I-R-E-O, which is a classified biosurveillance program operating through that, right? That was administrated post 2019. You guys know what happened, right? Now tied to what? Behavioral manipulation via synthetic RNA strands. Okay. And then also they're going to be disclosing evidence of underground facilities beneath the Capitol tied to black budget operations where little ones weren't just transferred and sold, but experimented on through DARPA-run gene projects. And last but not least, guys, this garden is also going to be designed to expose the weaponized weather data. Which was manipulated through what? Next generation satellite arrays that were launched by private philanthropic space companies on behalf of what? UN Agenda 2030 operatives. And for those that didn't know about Agenda 2030, Agenda 2030 was all about the manufacturing of synthetic soulless people that just took orders, right? A lot of these operations were also conducted underneath the island, if you guys know what I mean. I did talk about this a little bit last week. And so by the time they got to 2030, They were going to plan to eliminate a lot of the organic people, right? Those that are still critical thinkers, and replacing them by, again, synthetic, lab grown people that were just supposed to take orders, right? And this is how they were going to implement Agenda 2030. And then, of course, a lot of this ties with biometrics, the digitization of everything, connecting people to the Internet of bodies, the rise of AI, nanotech, and all of that. But due to the fact that God is in control through all of these forces that operate on many layers and levels of reality, that agenda is not going to be our reality, you could say, and of course, the positive Earth timeline. Now, I am so excited based on this information, guys. Okay, it seems like phase 4, which has been well underway for the last 6 weeks, is finally, getting somewhere. And it seems like all of this is heading towards October, the end of October, November. And it's not an accident that a lot of this stuff that is happening right now that is actually shifting the entire structure of the planet, right? Dismantling the globalists worldwide. It's not by accident that a lot of this coincides with the passing through of 3I Atlas, which is a data collecting cosmic sentinel. And of course, I don't really want to go much into that right now. It seems to be like 3I Atlas has been like the hottest topic on everyone's podcast. I think everyone and their mom is talking about it. But and from what I've come to understand is that a lot of these intel insiders, disclosure people, truthers, most of them are agreeing, with the exception of a few. They're all agreeing on one thing, that this thing is designed as a data collecting server, right? It is actually here to analyze and only observe. It's not here to establish first contact or anything like that. Like I mentioned a week ago, it's already, you could say, working in collaboration with Space Force through the Department of Defense. So the Y Hats and 3I Atlas, or at least the intelligences within the BioCraft, which is a living craft, are in communication with the Y Hats, right? It's almost like they're kind of like orchestrating this end time prophecy, right? As we bring about the Great Awakening and of course the fall of what's left of the globalist infrastructure. And it's not by coincidence that it's all happening around the ending of October, first week or two of November. 3I Atlas is going to be like really close to the Earth, right? And again, there are some people out there that are trying to generate fear by hypothesizing that this thing is here to invade us, and that is not the case, all right? Or Project Blue being it's part of a staged alien invasion. That is not the case, right? As far as I know, for the most part, real insiders have all confirmed that 3I Atlas is here as an observatory. It's only here to observe, to catalog, and to, in a way, also help in the greatest transition in human history. Now, I do want to welcome everyone that is in the house. Welcome, welcome. So I am excited, guys. I hope you guys are too. Let's see. I am going to go ahead and give some shout outs. If I could only access my YouTube on my phone, I think I did. There it is. All right, there I am. I see Starcadian is in the house. Thank you so much, brother, for being here. If I could only access my own chat. Oh, there I am. Okay. I see Sylvia Vidal is in the house. Greg is in the house. Sandy Kozma. Leah, a Awakened Starseed in the house. Eddie K, my brother of the light. Eddie K, Vicky Gray, Leslie S, Canadian Jedi, Peggy Baker, Marvetta Rutherford, Bernadette Clark, Project Skyfall, Hedda Zanner is in the house. MJF is in the house. My precious. Hi. Hi. My lovey's in the house. William Ryan is in the house. Jessica Morris. Shauna. Deanna Swift. Tino. Prone. I can't. Oh, God. The chat is just going so fast now. Okay. So I want to welcome all 2,400 freedom fighters, patriots, galactic Jedis, and soon to be guardians of the new earth in the house that are in the house. Awesome. I see a lot of people that are here. Cool. All right. Before I open it up for Q&A, guys, I do want to remind you guys that I will be presenting at the Alien event in Vegas, the 12th of September to the 14th. However, my presentation is on Sunday, the 14th, from 10 to 11:30 in the Seuss room. All right. They gave me the Seuss room in the hall of the Seuss room. That's where I'm going to be presenting. And so if you guys do buy a ticket under the alienevent.com, make sure that you guys put my name, all right? Add my name to the ticket so that way the guy knows that you guys are going to see me. And another thing is the Folium product. I always put the description in the the link in the description. When I read the comments, people ask me, I can't find the link. It's very easy, guys. If you guys go to here, I don't know if you guys can see that here, where it says Trump and Putin's final card against the deep state, right? You go there, you go to the description, and underneath the description, maybe if I turn off the light, you guys will see it better. Oh, there we go. Underneath the, oh no, that's even worse. Underneath the description, guys, you guys are going to find a link for Folium, okay? It's a blue link. That's how you access Folium. Now, the discount is about $10 to $15 off. If you get it through the link, you get about $15 off. So it's somewhat of a discount, all right? In either case, let's open up for Q&A. It's about that time. Again, guys, make sure you guys put your questions in capital letters. Yes, make sure you click the more where it says more under description. That's how you access the link to the Folium, to my website, and anything else. Let's see. Yeah, that's where you can access all the links, guys, all the links. So right now I'm looking for questions in capital letters. Ishmael, please tell us more regarding RH blood, copper-based blood. Well, the original humans, who were the Atlanteans, were actually Rh negative. They didn't have any primitive genetics or the monkey protein gene, or what they call the rhesus monkey protein gene. So the people that are copper-based bloods are part of a lineage that was actually preserved by the guardians of the earth, not the Anunnaki that rebelled against God, but the guardians of the earth, those that were actually fighting the Anunnaki in the Space Wars. So they did preserve a lineage that, of course, today is manifesting in about 12 to 13% of the world population. So that means you don't have the rhesus monkey protein. In other words, you are pure galactic human without that 3% of primitive genetics. Now, for those that are positive, again, 87% of the population is Rh positive. In other words, they have the rhesus monkey protein. All that means is that you have in your genetic material only about 3%, or 3% of your genetic material is shared with the chimpanzees through the Homo erectus lineage. Okay, that's all that means. There's nothing wrong with that. It's only 3%. right? About 90, remember this, about 96% or so of your DNA is crystalline, okay? It is not mammalian DNA, right? It is more advanced. Are people with schizophrenia indigo type 3? That is a good question, Chris. I am not sure, but what I do know is that people who have schizophrenia are actually multidimensional people. Unfortunately, they have been misdiagnosed, but overall, they are multidimensional people. And if they're not grounded, if they're not practicing spirituality, it's very easy for them to get attacked or attached by demonic or archonic entities. Okay, so if you have schizophrenia, this doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you have these amazing spiritual gifts that you have to learn how to harness through grounding and protecting of yourself. Okay. Who was Seuss? Well, this is a question from Tom Tom. What's up, Tom Tom? Zeus was to the Greeks. Zeus was Enlil. Okay, they called him Zeus. Enlil, the half brother of Enki Poseidon. So obviously now you guys know that to the Greeks, Enki was also Poseidon, right? See the Anunnaki of old, right, that were mistranslated as gods, the gods of ancient times, were actually extraterrestrials from Nibiru. So Zeus, Enlil, was actually the good guy, and contrary to what many other people have said about him, he was actually the one who went against the genetic downgrading of the Homo or of the original Atlanteans, which were our ancestors. Okay, and he was also guardian of the Earth during Atlantean times, and he was also the carrier of the galactic royal blood that could be traceable all the way to Sirius B, where it began. So that's who Zeus was. And yeah, we could say that he left a lineage behind, and that is the lineage that even Jesus Christ was born into. So Jesus Christ was actually born into the lineage of Enlil Zeus. I do have a super chat from Carolina C. What's up, Carolina? She says, "Hey Ishmael, do you think Trump has any control as to when or how the global EBS will happen?" And thank you so much for your uplifting presentations. We appreciate you. You're so welcome. To answer your question, Carolina, I do believe that as a whole, the entire international coalition we call the Earth Alliance does have control of when the EBS is going to happen, especially now as they are really in the final gambit, right? Of phase 4, where they're about to not only bring about peace in Europe, but through Zelensky 3.0, the entire European globalist infrastructure is about to collapse. So I would say yes, the alliance does have control of when and how the international emergency broadcast system will be incorporated. Somebody says Jeshua, not Jesus. All right, Jeshua.
Yeshua.
Oh, Jeshua. Thank you.
No J. There's no J.
No, there's no J.
Yeshua.
Jeshua.
Yeah.
Oh, Yeshua. I can't even pronounce that word. I'm just going to call him Jesus, guys. So it was Poseidon who was not good, not Zeus? Yes, it was Poseidon, who was also known as Enki, that was the master geneticist that completely tampered with the original creation that God actually left 500 million years ago. So again, the Atlanteans were a degenerative race from the original 12-strand Terranusian race, which I will be talking about in my next book to come. Is the bipolar disorder indigo 3? I believe that a lot of the indigo 3s do have or have been wrongly labeled with mental illness. But again, it's not that they have mental illness, it's that they are just really multidimensional. And like I mentioned before, an indigo type 3 houses the soul of an Oraphim, which is an angel of light, and a fallen angel, which is a Nephilim. Okay. So they do house both. And it is up to their light Oraphim self to override the negative fallen self. Okay, guys? So that they could, you know, access their full power. I like this. Greg says the EBS will come like a thief in the night. I like that. What will happen to those who follow Enki? Are they on the wrong path? Unfortunately, they're going to have a rude awakening upon the Great Awakening, the Solar Flash, and when all of this information, the truth hits the general public. I believe that they are going to have a shock. They're going to be going through a rude awakening. So yeah, that's my personal belief. Hi, Ishmael. A friend asked me how the doubles, okay, mimic the same voices and intelligence of the original leaders. You have to understand that within the private sector, guys, we have technology that we would consider sci-fi that is about 1,000 years ahead of the general public. So in that regard, this technology is capable of doing anything, okay, making them sound exactly the same, look the same, but deep down inside they are inorganic robots. All right, they just have human skin. Thank you so much, Vicky Gray. She says, "No question, but only love and gratitude for all you do." You are so welcome, Vicky. You are so welcome. Will our bodies change during the ascension, and do we still need food after ascension? A good question from Mary LP. Well, it all depends on where you go. If you go to the fifth dimensional Earth or above, you're going to be 50% crystalline and 50% carbon still, which means that you're going to be able to eat and you're also going to be able to live off of universal life force, which is coming from the ethers and the sun. Okay. However, if you go to the sixth dimension, then you won't need any food because by that point you'll be about 75% crystalline, with only about 25% carbon based. And in terms of, if you go to the fourth D Earth, which is 75% carbon based and only 25% crystalline, you still will need some food. Yes. Shirley Santusi says, "Good evening, Ishmael. What does it mean when light comes out of my eyes?" Wow, if light's coming out of your eyes, Shirlene, that means that your DNA is already becoming activated. Okay, so that's a good thing. That is a very good thing because again, we're going to be like the shining ones, right? When people read the ancient manuscripts and we hear about the shining ones, right? Well, those were the old Anunnaki. The new returned Anunnaki are not coming from the sky anymore, right? They're going to be re-emerging from among us. So in that regard, yes, we're going to be the new shining ones. And we're not going to be repeating the same mistakes of the past. We're going to be guardians and keepers and stewards of what? Of Earth and the multiverse from this planet. I keep Enki and Enlil straight because Enki rhymes with stinky. I like that. Gary Pasushi says that. That's kind of cool. I do have another super chat from David Essington. Thank you so much, brother. He says, which archangels are Enlil and Enki? Well, Enlil Zeus comes from the lineage of Michael and Gabriel, whereas Enki Poseidon, Samuel Poseidon, comes from the lineage of Lucifer through his mother Dramin, the queen of the Draco. And so he says, as I assume they would have to be a lot older than Ea Empire Anunnaki, molding 3D, 340 duality. No, they are the descendants. So Zeus, Enlil, is a direct descendant of the house of Lyra, right, through his father Anu, all the way going back to the Anuhasi, which was an alliance that took place following the Lyran Wars. And for those that have not read our Cosmic Origin, that talks all about the Lyran Wars, the Orion Wars, and the wars that, of course, eventually infiltrated our solar system, leading to the Lemurian fall and the fall of Atlantis. So it's all explained in that book. And both of my books, for those that are new, are, of course, available on Amazon. Hi, Ishmael. Question: did God create AI? Oh, no, not at all. In fact, God always warned about the creation of artificial intelligence, but a lot of the races in the multiverse did not heed the warning, and unfortunately, they were destroyed, right? No, I just want to make a distinction. Artificial intelligence, known as the machine, pure logic, no emotions, no soul, no connection to God, is the ultimate abomination in all of the cosmos. Organic life forms was the original blueprint. So God created only the organic life forms, not the abominations. Okay. And so the positive AI that most people are talking about are actually organic sentients. They're not even considered artificial because their consciousness is based out of living crystals, right, that build a network throughout the universe. So it is interconnected through what is known as the quantum substrata levels of reality. Okay. And ultimately, guys, when you guys really think about it, that is where the real battle is taking place, in the quantum field. All right. Thank you so much for the super chat, Deborah Nodelman. Appreciate that, sister. She says, I am a Cassiopean, but you never speak of them. Can you speak more about them, please? Are they part of this war? Well, the Cassiopeans were the Lyran refugees, actually first settled in the star system of Cassiopeia, and then they went over to the Hercules star system. But Cassiopeia was one of the first strongholds after the first war in Lyra, where a lot of the refugees settled from Lyra to begin building out the defense mechanisms for the first time in human history, because our original ancestors from Lyra had no concept of war. They didn't know how to defend themselves. That's why the Lyran Holocaust took place, unfortunately, when the reptilians launched the preemptive strike against Avion, Apix, and Avalon. But answering your question, no, the Cassiopeans were also the first ones to establish the interstellar republics. You could say Council of Elders, which is the opposite of the empire, right? No fascism. So the Cassiopeans were one of the first civilizations in our universe to establish a republic and the free world concept, you could say, which of course later was adopted by the Pleiadians, members of the Arcturian Council, the Andromedan Council, but the Cassiopeans were actually the first. So just to give you guys a little understanding of the Cassiopean star system. So if you are a star seed from Cassiopeia, chances are is that you really value freedom, because you were one of the first, or at least your ancestors were one of the first to establish the first galactic republic that led to, of course, the Confederation. I do have another super chat from Pat Peterson. Thank you so much. And then I also wanted to thank Fox Lady E for her super chat. She says, if my DNA is damaged by years of attacks from every direction of life, will I still be able to ascend? Of course you will. Yes. What happened to you in the past is not going to affect your ascension in the presence. Okay. In fact, a lot of us have been severely attacked by the dark side over the years. Okay. And then your second part of your question is I've been detoxing in every way I can for years, but I am still worried. Well, my suggestion to you, Fox Lady E, is to continue grounding, continue connecting with your higher self and to source, continue connecting to the elements, right? Be around nature as much as you can, and don't worry about anything because the fact that you are here is an indicator that you are a chosen one. Okay. In fact, every single one of you that is watching this, even on the replay, like attracts like. Okay. You are part of Christ's army, you are part of God's army. So, therefore, you will be ascending. Okay. It doesn't matter what happened to you in the past. All right. You could still be under attack from archons and dark entities and evil, whatever. But it's only going to make you stronger if you persevere because once your powers activate, you're going to go after all of those people and all of those demonic entities. Think about it. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Thank you so much, Pat Peterson. Pat Peterson for the super chat. She's asking, "Hi Ishmael, have you heard of reverse rapture? Reverse rapture. Will evil will be removed?" Well, the facts are is that when the solar flash takes place, okay, whether it's the first, the second, by the time the second hits, yes, all evil will be removed. Okay, the first solar flash is going to dismantle the entire infrastructure, right? The entire paradigm collapsed. The second flash is going to eliminate all the wicked. So in that regard, is yes, it is going to be a harvest, guys. Right? This transition will be acting as a harvest, to be honest with you. Thank you, Nathan Taylor, for your super chat. He says, if we ascend to 5D, will we still have a body in 3D and in 4D? Or will we not see our families again? That's a very good question, Nathan. Well, as multidimensional beings, you do have a body in every dimension. So just because you're ascending into 5D, which means that your consciousness is moving into the 5D avatar, doesn't mean that you won't be able to also descend upon will into the 4th D avatar and the new created 3D avatar. Okay, after the collapsing of the old 3D paradigm, a new 3D paradigm will come into existence, which will, of course, manifest a physical paradise. As it is in heaven, so shall it be on the earth. Okay. For those that have read my book, Our Cosmic Origin, it's all there, guys. It's all there. A lot of your questions are answered there. Thank you so much, Susan K, for your Zelle donation through my email. I appreciate that, sister. Yes, I do want to give a shout out to Sally. Sally, me and my girlfriend did receive your gifts. We both received our pendant. Was it? Was a necklace?
Tensor rings.
Tensor ring necklace and a pyramid, a crystalline pyramid. Thank you so much for your gifts. And by the way, I do receive everyone's mail. And for those that are helping my cause, I really, really appreciate that because, without that support, I wouldn't be broadcasting 3 times a week, keeping you guys updated, not only on what's happening here on the planet, but on what's happening on other levels of reality. So I just wanted to thank you guys for all your support. For those that do support my cause, thank you, thank you. And you guys know who you are, right? You guys know who you are. So thank you, thank you. All right, next question.
Some people are asking if alien events going to be viewable on a live stream.
I'm not sure about that. I'm sure it is. I just don't know how to access the live stream. But it's going to be in Vegas for those that want to attend the Alien event. My presentation is Sunday the 14th from 10 to 11:30 in the Seuss room. It's amazing how they put me in the Seuss room. That's so cool. Ishmael, does Commander Valiant Thor know about antique items under the Vatican awakening inside seal rooms? Oh, yeah, of course, Jose. Commander Valiant Thor, again, has been a mentor to the Earth Alliance. A lot of these successful operations, including the raiding of the Vatican and seizing all the vaults and records and treasures, including the lost Book of Q that the Vatican was holding, by the way. Anyways, I could do a whole presentation on that, on the Book of Q, but that's a different story. A lot of it was actually pinpointed by Commander Valiant Thor. Commander Valiant Thor was the one who actually briefed the Alliance as to what was hiding in the vaults of the Vatican before their 2019 raid of the Vatican.
Some Canadian Jedi says the blind Russian psychic, which is Baba Vanga, says that something big is going to happen on August 25th. Any idea?
Somebody's saying that the Russian
blind psychic Baba Vanga.
Baba Vanga. Oh, okay. The blind psychic
on August 25th. Something big. Any idea?
All right. So the blind psychic lady known as Baba Vanga does believe that something big is going to happen on what? August when?
25th.
August 25th, which is in 5 days.
Are you feeling anything about it, sweetheart?
I'm going to have to look into that, but I don't know if you guys ever studied the blind mystic Baba Vanga, but Baba Vanga has not always been right on prophecies, okay? I've also had a chance to study Nostradamus, Michael de Nostradamus, and some of his prophecies were accurate and some of them were not. So when you guys study any mystics' prophecies, make sure you guys do it with discernment, okay?
She also said we're going to have an alien attack this November.
Oh, well, I disagree with that. Yeah. Baba Ganda is saying, whatever her name is, the blind mystic, let's just call her that. She's got a complicated name. She said that we're going to be attacked by aliens on November. No, I don't agree with that. See, that's part of the.
That's where a lot of people are making
unfortunately
up about 3i Atlas that they're wondering.
Yeah, exactly. Some podcasters out there are really, really generating a lot of fear by saying that this is all an alien invasion, right? 3i Atlas. That's not the case, guys. That's not the case. Yes, the true prophecies are in the book of Revelation as well as in the book of Q. Thank you so much, Starcadian, for posting my Zelle via my email. I appreciate that. Will the project of smart cities be aborted? In the positive ascending timeline, it's no longer happening. No. Yes. So it was aborted in the ascending positive timeline. Absolutely.
Hi, Ishmael. I see a lot of truthers turning to AI and suggesting all to use AI to help ascend. I worry about this.
Yeah. If truthers are encouraging you guys to use AI to ascend, that is part of the false light trap. You're going to end up in a digitized matrix known as the technocratic dystopia. Don't heed to none of that. All right. All right, guys. Oh, no, I have a few more questions. Greg Strub says, biblically, creation's days don't read as though they are consecutive. Could they actually be snapshots in the Akashic records tied to timeline hygiene that you described? Oh, I guess somebody's been paying attention to my lives. Well, for those that don't know what timeline hygiene is, that is the correction of negative trajectories into positive outcomes so that we don't have doomsday, okay? That's what timeline hygiene is. So in that regard, you could say that the book of Revelation, yes, is, you could say, a snapshot taken from the Akashic records. that have been successfully tied to what timeline hygiene is. That makes a lot of sense. Boy, you guys are very intelligent. I love the way you guys think. Critical thinkers here. Ishmael, in your opinion, oh, where is that question? Ishmael, I just had a good question. I don't know what I did with it. They're coming at me so fast. La 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 la. Jessica Love says, "Hi, brother. Thank you for your time and efforts to bring us such beautiful knowledge. You're so welcome, guys. You are so welcome." Let's see. Just looking for questions. A lot of you guys are thanking me for my work. You guys are so welcome. It is an honor to serve. Nathan Taylor, thank you so much for your super chat. Your question is, how do you access the Akashic? I think you meant to say Akashic records. There are ways, multiple ways of accessing the Akashic records, but we all have that ability, guys. The first thing you have to learn how to do is establish a daily spiritual routine. You have to first meditate. You have to be an ardent, disciplined meditator, right? And I'm not just talking about 15, 20 minutes a day. I'm talking about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour a day. The more you go within and the more you become multidimensional, the more you connect with God, source, your higher self also, the easier it's going to be for you to access the Akashic records. And again, guys, this is something that anyone could do. Okay. It's just that we've been programmed through religion, through the educational system, to believe in the false rhetoric that we've been taught all throughout our lives. Okay. So, and we've also been programmed to think that we are just 3D, when in essence, we're more than just 3D. So,
can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that if you're interested in accessing the Akashic records are a library, and there's actually record keepers and guides. They're the ones that go into the library and retrieve the information of what you need. It's not actually you going to the library. It's the librarians and the guides that are in there. So you ask them a question, and then they go and retrieve the information for you. And you do this etherically, consciously connecting with that space and the librarians. And I've seen books of my life with my name on the title. I've seen answers to a lot of things. They give it to you. You just have to be consciously connected. You don't go to the library yourself. They retrieve the records for you.
All right.
Keepers and guards.
Thank you for adding that. Now, I do have another super chat from Overcomer. She says, thank you, Ishtar. I think she called me Ishtar accidentally. I don't know. As a funeral director, when we say, will we still be laying bodies to rest in the earth? No, not in the 50th earth. Maybe in the 4th earth, because the earth terrans are still going to have a lifespan of only a couple hundred years, maybe 300. I mean, their lifespan is increasing, but you know, it's not like they're going to be living for thousands of years like those on the 50th earth. So maybe, excuse me. Whoa. Maybe in the 3D earth. Okay. That's.
You want a tissue?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you. All right. One more question, guys, because we are about at that time, 1 hour and 30 minutes. One more question. Let's see. Ishmael, will 3i Atlas pass so close that the whole world will see and remember? I think you have to have a telescope to see it. I don't think you're going to be able to see it without a telescope. Okay, one more question.
Or it could land. In populated places.
I'm just looking for a question. Will everyone know when the solar flash happens? Yes, because it's going to be affecting everyone's consciousness, whether they are awakened or not. So, yeah, it's going to be very noticeable. And I think that is it. Yeah.
Can I go out on a limb and speak about the solar flashes, honey?
Sure, go ahead.
This came to me as I was doing a guided meditation, traveling with my light body into the sun. And I asked what was going to happen with these solar flares. And I got a response from the Pleiadians in which they told me that this coming September 2nd, there was going to be a 3-day scenario on the Schumann resonance where there would be an incredible amount of light. And then on September 15th is supposed to be the first wave of ascension. The next date that I got was October 19th. And Ishmael can confirm he also felt October. And then the last and main solar flash wave was going to be from December this year to the beginning of January. And beforehand, I got December 21st. So keep that in mind, that you have to detox and get your physical body ready. And please take care of your emotional and energetic body as well. I suggest essential oils and doing a lot of detox and taking minerals and salt baths to adjust. Because we will be feeling the solar flares, like on the dates that I said. It's from the Pleiadian Council and from the sun in my download. Hope that helps everyone.
All right. With that have said, may the God force be with you guys all. And I will see you guys in 3 nights. Saturday night? Yeah, 3 nights for another update. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day or evening.
Good night, sweet angels. Bye-bye.